This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Welcome to this very special episode of Real Talk. We're going to be talking hospitality today, food, restaurants. Super excited about it. A change of pace, we promise. No politics unless our guests want to get into it. We're going to stay out of the news cycle. We're going to be talking about who's making waves, who's grabbing attention, who's making a real go of it, the top of their class, the best of the best, as recognized in Edify's Best Restaurants of 2024. That coming up in just a second. We're going to talk about the restaurant scene post-pandemic. Do you have to be nuts to open up a new restaurant these days? On the flip side, what's the secret to keeping a restaurant open through 3 generations of ownership, nearly 80 years? What defines iconic these days? How have customers changed? Do dishes have to be Instagrammable? And what's the secret behind the perfect steak? Anyway, I know at least one of those is going to get your attention, so stick around. In a second, 3 of those in the restaurant scene that will be plying their trade and showing off their craft at the Best Restaurants special event as well that's coming up on Monday, April 8th, presented by Edify. Details on that in just a second. This episode of Real Talk wouldn't be happening without our presenting sponsor. That's Rello. If you're tuning in right now and you got a little extra time on your hands, some spare time because you're between jobs, you're waiting, looking for that new opportunity, have you considered a career in real estate? Being your own boss, running a thriving business, leaving cubicle life behind for good, plus, unlimited earning potential. You can get started today by enrolling in Rello. That's Alberta's top real estate school at rello.ca, RELO.ca. They help you study for your exam, pass your test, get your license, and it doesn't stop there. Plus, with Rello, you can study 100% online on your own schedule. And there's a great deal for Real Talkers right now. Save 20% off any Rello course with the promo code REALTALK. That's all one word, Real Talk, when you get started today at rello.ca. Well, you don't have to be from Edmonton to appreciate a story of a great restaurant, to be interested in food service and hospitality. How many of us weave that into our regular weekly routine, whether it's a getaway from the kids, time together with family, maybe it's business lunches, maybe it's romance you're after, or maybe you're just one of those culinary curious type folks that want to get out, explore what's new, and of course, support the entrepreneurs around you. If any of this describes you, then you're going to be wanting to follow along with what we're talking about today as we get into the pages of Edify's Best Restaurants of 2024. Of course, you can check it out online at edifyedmonton.com as well. It's a real pleasure to welcome to the Real Talk studio 3 of those featured in the pages of this magazine. His family's restaurant has been around for nearly 80 years. They're featured in the Best Chinese category. Miles Quon is joining us from the Lingnan. It's so nice to see you again, Miles. It's been years since our paths have crossed.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I was just talking to you about my drive into work every day through downtown Edmonton. I see the iconic Lingnan neon sign. That thing's got to be 20 feet tall. How long has that been there for?
Oh, man, I think it's been there before me, probably from the 60s. It's crazy. You know, I'm always in the restaurant. I never get to see it. But sometimes when I go outside, I look at it, I'm like, oh, my God, it's massive. Hey, people in the neighborhood don't mind, I think.
When you're talking about the Lingnan, people will talk about the Lingnan at 2 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening, and 3 in the morning.
You know, sometimes I forget to turn off the lights. Yeah, so 3 in the morning for sure.
That's right. People have special relationships with it. I want to talk about it. Your family has been the subject of a reality TV show even before they were the thing. Your family was pioneers there, and obviously you've been doing incredible work to keep a business happening for nearly 80 years. We want to get to that in just a little bit. People that know the food scene in the province of Alberta know the name Ben Staley. Ben's opened a ton of really remarkable restaurants, and right now he's working as creative director at Dorinku Tokyo and Dorinku Osaka, sister restaurants on either side of the North Saskatchewan River. It's so nice to have you on the show.
Happy to be here.
I can't remember. Have you and I ever done like an official interview in front of microphones before?
Maybe back in your radio and TV
Back
days.
in the radio and TV days. Well, it's so nice to have you here, Ben. And obviously, I've got a lot of respect for what you do in food, and I'm looking forward to picking your brain today. Tyler Sorochan. Tyler, you and I just getting to know each other here. You are the owner of the restaurant that I think in Alberta gets to walk with a little swagger right now. Anytime that your restaurant has been recognized as the best steak, in particular, your restaurant Barbacoa, that's got to do something for a guy's confidence. Congratulations. How did you feel when you found out you're the guy that's putting out the best steaks in the Metro Edmonton region?
Yeah, it's definitely humbling. We opened up a couple of years ago, and it's always been part of the concept to try and provide something to not just Spruce Grove, but the Edmonton, Alberta region that focuses on something that we should be proud of, and that's what we do.
Alberta beef.
Alberta beef.
Is it an easy sell, Alberta beef?
I mean, in Spruce Grove, yes, for sure. I mean, typically anywhere in Alberta, I think you could say that it's, for sure, an easier sell. We're super proud of what we do.
Yeah, right on, as you should be. I've encouraged all of you to kind of jump in on this. We're treating this like friends that are out for coffees or pints. That's kind of the spirit of our Real Talk roundtables. I'm sorry that I'm going to come across as like obsessed with steak right out of the gates, but I want to ask all three of you about steak and beef, just because I am curious. What is the secret? What are you willing to tell us about the secret of preparing a perfect steak? What do you do differently, your restaurant, than anybody else?
It's the sear, for sure. We obviously, the concept is built upon wood fire grill, so we don't use gas, so no gas in Barbacoa. The concept is actually built on more or less the history of barbecue. So the term barbacoa is generally kind of the transition between cooking over wood, using the essence of smoke, charcoal, to flavor the food, right? So we ditch the gas when designing and building the restaurant, and we cook over live fire in the middle of the room.
Interesting. Ben, you're nodding. I've heard that there's trends in home construction that more and more people are steering away from natural gas in their kitchens. I always thought that natural gas ranges were supposed to have this like the most baller move that you could pull when you were putting together a kitchen. Is there something behind different methods of fire, so to speak?
Oh yeah, I think that, well, especially as a cook, originally a cook, a fire is just kind of, for me at least, it's more challenging. It's a living thing. You always have to kind of focus on it, and it just kind of brings the best out of you, I think. I think that gas stoves and gas ranges have been kind of romanticized a lot. They're very inefficient. They're not good for your pots. So I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum. If I have a range or something, I do induction. It's just cleaner, more efficient, faster. But I love to cook over fire, as my old restaurants did. Yeah,
no kidding. People will know. We can mention some of your old, like Alder Room was one of your, and then your most recent one.
Yeah, Restaurant Yarrow.
Super cool, Restaurant Yarrow, which was a really neat concept. So as a civilian, as a customer, my understanding, my memory of it, several wonderful nights there was like, I think your maximum seating was like 12 people or something, wasn't it? 10 people, and you and a sous chef would basically prepare. I seem to remember 15 to 20 small plates over the course of a sitting.
Yeah, so at Yarrow is 22 to 25 servings, at least when I was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you would start in the front room. You'd start with your snacks, and then you'd move to the dining room. 10 guests. We did everything. So I would set your cutlery. I would pour your wine. I would do the wine pairing, explain everything to you. We'd cook and plate in front of you. It was a very intimate experience.
So then I was at Dorinku for a lunch meeting just last week where we ran into each other, and obviously a completely different setting. It's a wonderful Asian cuisine, of course, a casual lunch vibe. The prices, by the way, I gotta say, I don't think you charge enough. We got our bill, and I was like, this should be more. It was a rare lunch where we weren't drinking wine as well, so maybe that helped a little bit. But can a guy go from a concept that's like, pretty like, I mean, it was like a special night out when you were at Yarrow, and then here Dorinku's like a lunch destination. People can do it on a budget. What from your mentality or your mindset around hospitality stays true regardless of concept?
Well, actually, a fun little ironic full circle point is that Dorinku Osaka is where Alder Room was. So it actually was my first restaurant. So I've kind of come full circle. And I think that the idea of hospitality is just kind of universal in the industry, because we are in the hospitality industry. We are in the industry of making people happy. So I think that the ideas and what we kind of strive for transcend whatever the specific concept is. And you know, a place like Yarrow that does a very long menu like that is incredibly labor intensive. And you know, as a cook and as a creative person, I think a lot of people at this table can agree with that, is that like we're interested in a variety of things. You know, we'd like to kind of do fun, casual stuff. We also like to do the stuff that challenges our kind of our creativity and forces us to kind of focus a lot more on, you know, the tiny little details to make it perfect. Or we just like to go out and have fun and have a beer, which I'm a little disappointed they aren't here right now.
Oh,
but
what would you? What's your beer? You let me know. We'll go get it. We got 3 beer fridges here, so we can whatever you need. Your formula, Miles, might be a little bit different when you're third.
For beef?
Well, yeah. Why don't we start with?
I can't
beef?
tell you how soft and tender the beef we Chinese people make. We Chinese people.
we Chinese people. Your restaurant is known in particular for your take on a filet mignon.
Yeah, we do a Mongolian filet mignon. We do a aristocratic. Yeah, you know, the secret to our style of cooking is high heat with lots of gas. It's ridiculous in there. You know, the woks are roaring, 130,000 BTUs. They're coming out. They're called volcano burners. Other restaurants have these things called turbo burners, which there's like a turbo blower that blows into them. It's insane.
I want to be the person that names all of these units.
Oh, don't worry. You just have to work on China.
The turbo burner.
Don't worry. They probably just Google it.
Yeah.
They probably have AI telling them coolest name for a burner.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we do our own style. Very different from everybody else. We use Alberta beef as well. Our secret to beef is velveting. Like we do a velveting. We do a cornstarch coating, very light, seals in all the juices. You know, that's as far as we're gonna get. And the marination.
Well, no, you got to give us more, man. People want to know the
No,
secret.
it's just a style, and it's just a style. It's just we cook it in high heat, oil, canola, everything. You get the breath of the wok in there. It's all that kind of romance. We only use carbon steel woks, you know, all that kind of stuff. There's a really big art to it. So, you know, sometimes we get cut short. We're like, hey, you know, Chinese restaurant, you should be cheap, you know. That's our own doing. But yeah, man, there's a lot of skill and art to it. So I hope there's a little bit of a resurgence when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, do you see that? Like obviously operating a restaurant, it's kind of funny. You and I we're chatting before the show, and I'm like, remind me how long you guys have been around? You go 77. I'm born in 77, so I go, wow, hey, coming up on 50 years. You go, no, like 77 years.
Yeah, man.
Unbelievable. How many restaurants in Edmonton have been open 77 years? One?
I don't know if there's, well, I know there's probably a few. Like, probably Commodore's been around for a long time.
Okay,
but,
yeah, like a nice cheap brunch. They do a killer job on brunch.
Yeah, but I don't know we're the unique one. We're the same family. So my grandpa and my dad and then me. So, you know, I've been very lucky. I've been very blessed to be part of such a strong tradition in the restaurant business in Edmonton. Like,
yeah.
But just been very, very lucky.
So your family has seen and weathered, I mean, a ton of things, I'm sure, when you're talking about almost 80 years, but like an economic downturn in the early 80s, obviously things were tough in Alberta.
It's tough.
Downturn, you know, late, you know, 2008, 2009, 2010. You've had downturns recently. Obviously, the pandemic must have changed a lot of things.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy? It's not even just a downturn for us, for a cultural, ethnic cuisine. It's like, you remember when all the buffets came? Like all the huge buffets with like 300 items. There's one in Kingsway. You got a Buffet World. You got all those crazy buffets and they're going for $5.
Yeah.
That killed us.
Those were the ones that were kind of weird that would have like lasagna next to fries, next to chicken chow mein.
And then Jello pudding.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those ones. And they would all have Chinese names. They just decimate quality Chinese food that what we do. I have tablecloths.
Yeah. Or at least the perception of the quality of the food that you can offer.
Yeah, well, they're like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, that is another downturn with economics, with everything and cultural and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. So I'm very happy that I get to still do it.
Yeah, Ben, what did you mean by perception? Perception of quality. What does that mean?
Well, I think that, you know, as a cuisine and a culture that is as rich as, you know, Chinese cuisine, I think that's oversimplifying it, you know. But the perception, the public perception a lot of the times is that it's an inexpensive or a cheap cuisine. because you often get a lot of like very watered down places that, you know, the kind of like Americanized style of Chinese food. So like a place like, you know, Lingnan, where they've obviously been open for a very long time, focusing on quality ingredients and focusing on quality preparation. The like kind of quick places kind of hurt that that image a little bit.
But I always we have we've been around for so long. Like, we're a classic immigrant story. Great grandpa came in 18 something to Vancouver, you know. Then we started a Chinese restaurant with whatever we had here. You know, you're growing bean sprouts out of a tub. You know, there's no gailan, there's no bok choy, there's none of that kind of stuff in Canada at that time. Wow. There wasn't even a railroad, right? So that's what we started, and that's still on our cuisine today. So our cuisine, if you look at our menu, it's really unique. You can see the immigration pattern. So we have classic style chop suey dishes, you know? Those can never leave. You know, people love those things. Then we have the Hong Kong immigrants that come in the 90s. We have a lot of those dishes, you know? And then we have a lot of like more modern mainlander kind of style Chinese dishes, like, you know, all that kind of spicy stuff. So we have everything.
Yeah. Is it, I hope you don't mind the question, Ben, is it tough for a white guy to work as creative director at a Japanese restaurant?
I would be lying if I said I didn't think about it. And yeah, it's definitely on my mind pretty often. But you know, the way that I kind of see it is, I think it'd be very different if I was opening these restaurants as an owner, and I'm surrounded by, you know, the owner of the company that owns all 5 of our restaurants is Korean. Basically, our entire director board and people in management are either Korean or Japanese. I'm actually the only white guy. So
is it a lonely place to be?
Sometimes, but it's awesome.
So is it like with Korean? Is there Korean and Japanese influence on the menu?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like Osaka, for example, has a bibimbap on their menu.
Oh yeah.
So very Korean.
Nice. What was it about barbecue, Tyler, that floated your boat? Like, was that something like when you were growing up? Was it like your parents or your grandparents or the neighbor next door was always using briquettes or something, or what was it for you?
It was me. I was the grill guy. So I grew up in the kitchens. I started in a franchise kitchen when I was 13 years old at a Boston Pizza, kind of working, you know, after school, 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock, and got into my first steakhouse when I was probably about 17 years old, and I was the grill guy. I was always the guy that was cooking the steak, and when we started deciding or talking about what type of concept we wanted to do out in Spruce Grove, we were thinking and going, like, you know, we're in Alberta, we're in Spruce Grove, we're pretty blue collar, and we don't have a good steakhouse out here.
Huh.
And that was where I was comfortable, and that was what I enjoyed doing, right?
So is Spruce Grove, wonderful community. I've got lots of family out there. What is it, like 30, 40,000 people, something like that?
I think about 40.
Approximately-ish. Is it a tougher go, like when you're opening a place in a so-called bedroom community of a more major city center? Is your goal to get people driving or, you know, Ubering 30 minutes out from the big city to come there, or do you want to be like the restaurant for the city of Spruce Grove, or how do you approach something like that?
I think when we started out, we definitely were the Spruce Grove restaurant. We didn't do a bunch of marketing. Being in Spruce Grove, obviously our location is not a typical restaurant location, being in the industrial area out in Spruce. So we really focused on just getting our name out in the local community there. Yeah. And it kind of snowballed from there. We see first timers making reservations that are coming in from Edmonton, from Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Leduc. So the more we keep at it, the more we're seeing these guests coming in from everywhere in Alberta, right?
And do you find, like, I mean, you opened 2 years ago, so you opened post-pandemic.
Yeah, right? we're actually going on three years.
So you opened mid-pandemic?
Mid-pandemic. So we actually started looking at real estate shortly after the pandemic hit.
What gave you the belief that was a good idea.
It wasn't.
No, sorry. I was trying to think of it like a gentle way to ask that question.
Yeah,
because
no, it was crazy for sure.
Yeah, like there's nothing funny about them. It's horrible how many restaurants have had to close. I feel just absolutely terrible about it. It's bad for the food scene. It's bad for the investors. It's bad for the staff. But yet you're making a go of it. What was part of that plan? Why do you think it worked?
I mean, part of it is the location we're in. We chose somewhere that had a little bit less of a landlord risk, and that's why we're in the industrial area out in Spruce Grove. I mean, it takes some balls to open up a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic, and we did want to mitigate that risk just a little bit, and we had to be smart about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started looking at real estate right after the pandemic hit, and we found somewhere that we were comfortable with, and we ended up actually doing orientation the day that the government closed dining rooms in Alberta. So it was, I think we had about 36 staff member in for orientation at about 5 p.m. one night, and I think the news release came about 6:30 on the evening news, and kind of got halfway through orientation, and it was tough. We had to tell the staff kind of what had just transpired, and they were going to go home that evening, and we weren't quite sure when they were going to come back.
So what did the pandemic do to you, Ben? Like as a restaurateur, as somebody working in hospitality, the way that your face just changed.
Well, so my prior restaurant Yarrow, we actually opened 7 weeks before the first lockdown. So I'd always joke, like next time I open a business, I'm going to put a global pandemic in the business plan.
Yeah, right. Just in case.
Just in case. So, and obviously with a setup like that, like it was so intimate, and we like physically needed to have people there.
Yeah.
We couldn't just do a 25-course takeout menu. So we pivoted, and we did a lot of like really fun things. We did a lot of takeout, and the community kept us going, and it wouldn't still be open to this day if it wasn't for the people who supported us.
How about you, Miles? You guys, did you just pivot to basically like 100% delivery?
Yeah, you know what? It was actually it's like a smooth transition for us. People just didn't come in, and they just went to delivery.
Yeah.
And we have been doing delivery since the 40s. So
you guys do delivery and takeout. You're famous for delivery and takeout.
That's like my thing. Like I had other restaurateurs call me. They're like, "Hey, Miles, you do delivery?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do delivery." They're like, "Tell me how it works." So I explained to them drivers, I explained to them packaging, I explained to them all that kind of stuff because it's new to people. And I have no problem telling people where I get my stuff or how to do it or combine stuff. And yeah, man, we just switched right into, luckily, right into just like another day, and just no dining room. And what I did was we just cleaned up the dining room, painted a few things, did the carpets,
Took the time to renovate.
Yeah, you know what? I have to say, like during the pandemic, the delivery was crazy. Like people supported restaurants in the pandemic. Like now it's different. It's less busy sometimes.
Really? Okay, let's get into
it. Yeah, people
That's true.
People have hearts of gold, right? So people see local restaurants going down or whatever. People come out in droves. Like they'll make a point and they'll feel proud of it. But now since the pandemic is over, everything's like, oh, your food is not as hot. I was like, well,
really?
I was like, that's what you're going to complain about? Like, we're still here. Like, it's sat in a box for 45 minutes. Like, I don't know what you did with it when you went home. So, yeah, you know what? It actually was the delivery aspect. Some aspects during the pandemic for the restaurant as a human part of it was more touching than it's now. More of it now, like my restaurant's a little bit different, but like more of it's transactional now. But before, during the pandemic, it was like they want to come in, they want to say hi, they want to make you feel good, they want to make you feel like they're helping you, and I appreciate it. And there's people are still doing that, but it's just crazy what the pandemic does to people. So it was a unique experience for us, and we're luckily enough that we always done takeout, so we didn't need to go with the third parties right away. We just kept on doing our own, and then my brother and we all took some more deliveries out. Yeah, it was pretty good.
I love this from Bunny Slippers in our live chat, who says, Lingnan, I love when Amy phones me back confirming my online order and tells me I better be on time.
Well, you know what happens, like, technology with parents. I was like, hey, Mom, you don't have to call them back. Like, they get an email. And I was like, how do you trust the email? I'm like, Mom, you don't trust email? And she's like, well, I just want to talk to them. I'm like, Mom, people don't really talk to people anymore. You want to text them? Oh, I don't know how to text. I'm just going to call them. I'm like, Mom, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. How do you how do you know? She's like, oh, I'll leave a message. I'm like, people don't even have messaging systems. And my mom's like, don't worry about me. I'm like, okay.
Who checks their
that's why-
voicemail anymore?
Oh, man. It's like
My voicemail message advises callers to not leave a message because I say the voicemail is not monitored.
Yeah.
But still, it'll pop up and say, you have a new voicemail. And I go, okay, well, like on principle, I'm not checking it. So I don't know why they're leaving it. You seem to be nodding your head and agreeing with Miles when he was talking about pandemic versus post-pandemic. I'm surprised to hear that maybe the vibe is that people got restaurants through the pandemic and then kind of, I mean, I'm being dramatic to say gave up on them, but maybe
back
sort
to
of
business. Like, let's go back to business.
Let's go. Let's go.
Me.
I also think that there was a big economic change from the time of the pandemic to now, where during the pandemic, it was kind of saying it's like you're not really going to see the real repercussions of the pandemic, at least in terms of restaurants, for a year or two after. Because, people during the pandemic, they're doing whatever they could to survive. They're using their life savings. They're doing all this stuff. And then they had the support from the government. But now when, their life savings are gone and now they have to pay these loans back. And then, people are also, just the average consumer is also kind of struggling a little bit. So spending is kind of down across the board. So now I think it's when we're seeing a lot of places that are starting to shutter, unfortunately, or having to shift again.
Yeah, I think there's going to be I think the wave of closing is not going to stop, and I think it's going to be big guys that close. People always see, hey man, like they don't really see the real costs of restaurants. My real cost of my restaurant is not like the day-to-day kind of little things. It's the fact that it's the instability of the supplies I might have. So a great example I use is like one day I bought a bib of oil for 27. Mind you, I used to buy them when I was younger for 18, so 27. Next day is 34. Next day is 36. Oh, I loaded up on 36. Next week is 34. I just lost a whole bunch of money. Right? And then broccoli one day is this price, and the next day is this price, and then the quality is not as good, but what are you going to do, right? And then they're like gases and trucking and shipping. People don't see those things are what keep me up at night. It's not, it's really those things. It's not like I know what rent is going to be, like if I paid rent. I know what rent's going to be. I know what this is going to be.
You guys own the building?
Yeah.
Have you owned it for like 75 years?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even look at that side of the books. I just like, hey man, I don't have to cut a check for that. Yeah, I think people don't understand. Some things don't understand. Like labor is insane. People always say, restaurants, they don't pay enough for labor. They don't pay enough for labor. I don't. For my part, we pay a lot for labor, and people's tastes and customers' tastes have changed. Everything is fast, speed, volume. We're busy for 4 hours of the day. There's no more people coming in at 11 or 10 p.m. at night to enjoy a meal or anything. Everything for my business, I could speak on my own, we're compacted. We're compacted for 3 hours. It's insane for 3 hours. And that 3 hours, you need 30, 40 people. Other restaurants can get away with 7, but they stretch it out all night.
Do young people still want to work in restaurants?
No. we get the odd resume here and there.
Is staffing a real challenge for you?
For us, it's not. And this is very a unique situation. We've had very little turnover in Spruce Grove and at Barbacoa specifically. I know my business partner, he owns some other restaurants out in northern Alberta, and I know they struggle here and there. But we've lucked out a little bit. I like to think that's part of what we're doing out in Spruce Grove at Barbacoa, and we see that very little turnover. But we're attracting some higher skilled individuals, and we just haven't had to hire necessarily.
Wow, that sounds nice.
That's great.
It's interesting. Like you look at certain industries and how trends impact them, and journalism's one, broadcasting's one, and we'll hear from young people that reach out to these career investigations on behalf of the broadcasting schools or like the polytechnic schools that they're going to apply to. And they talk to people working in the business and ask for like your tips and advice and how do you get started. And you look at the state of journalism right now, and it's dire straits for a lot of the. I mean, it's tough. And I find myself kind of wrestling with the fact, like, number one, we need good journalists and we need good storytellers and we need this, the fourth estate. And at the same time, it feels irresponsible to advise young people to go into it because it's just going to be a wild ride of instability and job cuts and poor pay and all that kind of stuff. Do you feel the same thing with the restaurant industry a little bit, or do you still feel like there's great opportunity there? Like, what do you tell a 17-year-old that's interested in going into it, Ben?
Well, I think that it is a struggle, and I think that's just a fact. It's the talent pool. In Edmonton specifically, we have a lot of like very great people who are very good at what they do, but it's a relatively small group, and it's very difficult to staff right now, at least from what we've noticed at our restaurants. Not really back of house. It's difficult to staff quality front of house,
like servers and
bartenders.
Okay,
bartenders is quite tough right now. And I mean, my honest opinion, if I joke and a kid asked me if they should go into the industry, I'd say no. But I feel like that's just like a jaded, I feel like an old man saying that.
Isn't that crazy? If someone asked me, would you want to get into the industry? I would just laugh and say, no, man, like, go be a pharmacist, have a better life. But like, for me, it's the same thing. Like, they're like, how did you get in the industry? And I wasn't forced. Like, my parents, I went to university, I wasn't forced. And what happened is I slowly see how hard they work and slowly just slid into it. And I'm very happy, but I think I come from a different aspect just because I'm multi-generational. But yeah, staffing is a big issue for me, especially because it's not, I can train how to cook. I can teach you. It's tougher for me to teach you flavor profiles that you might have grown up with. They're like, oh, how does this supposed to taste? Or, I was like, how does this kung pao chicken, as example, supposed to taste? And I was like, you can't find that from a book. Kung pao chicken is how your grandma made it or someone made it. Everybody's kung pao chicken is a little bit different, right? But the thing is, for me, the big aspect is apparatus. I use woks. We use woks. We use giant woks, 24-inch woks. We have the small ones. We toss them and all that kind of stuff. They don't have that training program in Alberta or in Nate to teach people how to use that kind of heat with that speed and all that skill. So, sometimes people want to do pop-ups and they come into my restaurant. They're like, oh, I would do a pop-up. I'm like, you want to work with woks? And they're like,
have fun.
See you later. See you later. I was like,
I guess I had no idea that woks were such a, I mean, obviously it's fascinating to watch somebody work one.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're just so cool. I can sit and watch somebody for like an hour, no problem. And the food that comes from them blows my mind all the time. But I guess I didn't understand. Is there like there's obviously you're alluding to the fact there's a certain skill that's 100%. Required. Like you could just like basically mess up a meal real quick.
Oh, you mess up a meal even if you don't know how to do it properly, you have messed up the meal prior to starting. So sometimes we have people come in and, this is like a Chinatown kind of story where people do like interviews. And the interview is to make a beef chow fan or guan chao hao, whatever. So that's a broad rice noodle with the beef. It takes a lot of skill to do that. And if you watch a chef how he does it, then you know everything that you need to know about that guy. I don't know if it's real happened because I can't pick and choose, but it's like a Chinatown thing, right? Where what time does he turn on the heat? What's the color of the wok before he puts the oil in? Does he take the oil in after out?
It's your French omelet litmus test.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Exactly, right.
What is that? Explain that for us plebs that don't understand what you mean.
Well, the classic thing, at least like in European style cooking, is to judge the quality of somebody's skill or a cook is you ask them to make a French omelet. And a French omelet is a very technical thing, but it's like the epitome of French cuisine, where it's all technique. It's all about quality ingredients and technique and doing it properly. But it's very hard to do a really good one.
Yeah,
it's very hard. So
same
thing with us.
It's kind of
same thing with us. Like we know, like I used to have the benefit of like choosing people, but now people choose us. Like that's where the reality of my restaurant is. Like people choose to come to Lingnan to work or whatever, right? But yeah, so that's one of those things. It's very hard for me, man. I wish there was a course that just taught people how to cook out of woks.
Very cool. You could invent it, man. Just think the Lingnan School of Cuisine. Hey,
yeah,
is there like are there wheels?
Work.
Are there? It's more work for you for sure.
Oh, the tuition would be crazy.
Yeah, that's what you get.
Not as crazy as the ones over here, but
you get government subsidy. It's all great. This could be a whole new revenue stream for you. We're hanging out. That's these three that we're hanging out with here. Tyler, Ben, and Miles are all featured in Edify's Best Restaurants issue of 2024. It's just a masterful work by our friends at Edify, and I want to put on your radar coming up their best restaurants restaurants event. We're really excited about this. If you go to edifyedmonton.com, this is a must-attend event. I know all three of you are going to be there. A chance to sip, sample, and savor some of Edmonton's best cuisine. It's coming up Monday, the 8th of April. You can get VIP access at 5:45 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. Runs through till 9. You're going to be able to taste the winning cocktail from the first ever Edmonton Cocktail Week. You're going to be able to taste some of the cuisine from the restaurants that are featured in the Best Restaurants issue. They still have some tickets available. General admission, $90 a person. You can get a VIP table as well, seats 2, 4, 6, or 8. Again, all the information at edifyedmonton.com. More with our chefs and restaurateurs in just a quick second. We do have a big announcement, and I've been looking forward to making this announcement for quite some time. Our friends at Friesen Brothers have officially announced the date that they are opening Friesen Brothers Glenora. I know this is a local reference. If you live anywhere in or near Edmonton, you're going to want to check this out. This is the Friesen Brothers that's going in that traffic circle, 107th Ave, 142nd Street. My friends, April 12th. April 12th is the date that Friesen Brothers Glenora will open. That is their 17th location in the province of Alberta. Still family owned. Just an absolutely remarkable success story. Friesen Brothers, Alberta grown, Alberta owned. April 12th opening their Glenora location. Congratulations to our friends at Friesen Brothers. If you're looking at bringing an outdoor space to life this spring into this summer, maybe you're hosting a backyard barbecue. You can't wait. It's going to be maybe your 18-year-old's high school graduation, or maybe it's your 40th wedding anniversary, or somebody celebrating their 50th birthday. Whatever it is, if you're going to have 55 people in your backyard, you're going to want to make sure that your design, your decor, your landscape function is dialed in. That's what Eden Landscaping does. A custom builder with more than 20 years of experience. You can check out their portfolio online at landscapeedmonton.ca. That's where you can learn more about Mike and his team's design philosophy as well. So whether it's an outdoor kitchen, irrigation, drainage, lighting, retaining walls, whatever the project, you know they're going to do it right the first time, increasing the value of your property and your enjoyment at that property is, again, that we recommend Eden Landscaping at landscapeedmonton.ca. If your investment's going to be inside the house and you're committed this year, you're absolutely adamant that you're going to get organized, you're going to declutter, do yourself a favor and request a free consultation with the team at California Closets today. You can talk to their designers, let them know what you're looking at, tell them maybe where you could use the resources most. Is it a step-in closet? Is it your laundry room that's totally out of control? Is it your garage that gives you anxiety every single time you walk into it? You can't find your extension cords. You don't even know where your running shoes are. California Closets does it all. Their team of designers and installers, the absolute best in the business, and as mentioned, that consultation's free at californiaclosets.ca. And before we get back to talking about the restaurant industry, I want to talk about engineering for a quick second. Automation, in fact. If you're a professional engineer looking for a change of pace, looking for a wonderful new career opportunity with a dynamic, growing firm, you owe it to yourself to check out apexautomation.ca. This is a team that's working in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Texas, in some of the biggest projects going in the energy industry, in mining, in shipping, in artificial intelligence. Very cool stuff happening at Apex, and they'd love for you to be a part of it. They have the available jobs listed at the careers link, apexautomation.ca, and that list is always being updated. So check it today, check it next week, and most importantly, get in touch with them at Apex Automation. Hanging out with Tyler Sorochan of Barbacoa, best steak in the Metro Edmonton region. So proclaims Edify Edmonton in their Best Restaurants episode, their issue rather. Ben Staley is the creative director at Dorinku Tokyo and Dorinku Osaka, sister restaurants in the Old Strathcona and Jasper Avenue areas of Edmonton, and Miles Quon, third-generation restaurateur at the Lingnan. By the way, there was a shout-out to Chicken for Lunch.
Yeah,
this was your mom's place as well. That was like an Edmonton lunch institution, basically in the food court of an office tower. And you guys would see, I know we're here to talk about Lingnan, but Chicken for Lunch just closed just a short time ago. You guys used to have lineups like 75 people deep. It was wild.
I think the last month it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it about that place? I mean, there's the nostalgia for a lot of people, but the food itself was killer.
The food was great. My mom's really honest when it comes to that kind of stuff. The food is great. My mom is like, her style really resonates with people. and people love her, and it's because of her and her her authenticity that people come to Lingnan to see her, and that's how we keep everything going. So yeah.
You know that my family, you're going to wonder where the hell this story's going. My families were really into off-roading. We've got big Jeeps. We love to get out and go camping and off-roading. Your mom gave me a gift about 12 years ago of a little Buddha, and she pressed it into my hand, and she told me that it would bring good luck, and it is glued to the dashboard of my Jeep.
See, look, you're still here. It works.
And I'm still here. And to this point, we have avoided rollovers, and that Buddha accompanies me on all of my journeys.
Well,
and
that's
and
awesome.
I think of your mom every single time we're out. I'm dead serious.
You know what? That's a great story, because that Buddha's going to last forever. We have customers bringing in menus from 1947. So their great-grandpa passed away. They're going through their encyclopedia, and in one of the sheets, it came out was an old menu of the Lingnan.
Wow.
I've never seen it, and we donated it to the museum.
How cool is that?
Oh, man, when people bring that stuff in, it's still cool.
Are there some recipes that have not changed in 77 years?
Yeah, well, lots of them, like most of them,
Really?
when it comes to the Western kind of stuff, has not changed. But, yeah, because that's the only way I know how to do it, and that's the only way the customers know how to eat it. And they're multi-generational customers. Like, they're like, you know, their grandpa, their son, their dad, and now little kids are bringing little kids. I have a little one now.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's crazy when I talk, like, I'm so old, and I talk to them about this. Oh, your dad used to do this, your dad used to do that. But it's really lucky that we, for 80 some years, Edmontonians have been supporting us.
Are you already thinking of a succession plan?
No, I don't get that far. Just wake up and make sure the place is still like,
Yeah.
you know, the hot water tank didn't explode. You know, my ventilation works. I didn't lose a fan belt. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to hear Miles talking about somebody that not only finds a menu that might be 60 or 70 years old, but also recognizes that the restaurateur, the owners, the family would still want to see it. Ben, it speaks to the connection that restaurants have, that creators have, that chefs can have. With communities and the hugely. This is one I recommend that people check out the editor-in-chief of Edify, Stephen Sandor. His editorial in this issue is talking about how restaurants need us, like they need our support. It's a really kind of a striking piece that he's written on that. And I wonder if maybe people. Do you think people need to be reminded? Like, do we need to think about what the world might look like, what our communities might look like without restaurants?
Oh, that'd be a sad place. Restaurants are like, food is a universal language, and I joke that like I don't trust somebody if they don't like to eat. If food is just sustenance, like that's just boring. But also restaurants and food are culture builders. Like that is how you look at some of the best, more iconic cities in the world, and they have very defined, very established, ingrained food cultures. And, I think it is just the driver of just life in general. And that sounds a bit, dramatic and over-romanticized. But, and I think that just goes down to, if we as a, society here, we want to have a food culture, one that defines us and we define it, it's because of our restaurants. And that trickles down,
What's, Tyler, one of the biggest challenges in running a restaurant that people might not think of? What's something that you? I mean, it's interesting to hear Miles go through like the fan belts and ventilation and things like that. The price of oil, the price of beef. Is that a sort of something that you can? Nuts. Is it all over the? It seems to be all over the map.
It's nuts. I know you had touched on it
because you don't have your menu prices written in pencil. You're not changing the prices all the time.
No. So you just mentioned that. We had started out a couple years ago when we had first opened, and we're printing menus on some pretty thick laminated cardstock, and to do a menu run was $1,200, and people don't understand that, right? So we talk about seasonality of dishes and ingredients and procuring these different types of things. How do you write that onto a menu when it costs $1,200 a run, right? So last year we switched to printing in-house, and it gives us that opportunity to change these items on a seasonal basis. And the other costs you were talking about, the facilities aspect of it. I ended up getting out of kitchens and restaurants for a couple of years, or not out of restaurants entirely, but the day-to-day operations of restaurants. And I did some facilities management stuff for a group of restaurants, and It's the behind the scenes costs are astronomical. People don't understand that, you know, a fan belt goes in the middle of winter and you got to call out an HVAC tech, and it's a $600 call for a couple hours of work at overtime when it's minus 30 out.
It's
and
always in the middle of winter,
of course. And
when you're
9
busy.
o'clock at night. And
it's always
the
something.
fans go down.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
crazy.
but so I'm asking a bit of a personal question here, but let's say you have a what's like a steak, like let's say $60 on a menu, $65, something
I'd say
like
about our
ish
average right now, yeah.
these days. So like, what would be? Here's the personal question: what would be your What would you hope your profit margin to be on a $65 steak?
A $65 steak.
Yeah.
It's up there 45-50%.
Okay.
And I mean, restaurants would typically like to see a food cost come in, you know, sub 30.
Okay.
I'd say is good.
So you could make $30 on a $65 steak. Is that right? Ben looks very Ben looks cynical
you'd want
about
to.
that.
You'd want to.
Well,
It's-
you'd want to make yeah.
Like the typical markup for food is just 3 times. You basically aim to have it sub 30%, like you said, but the reality is I think also a thing that a lot of people don't realize is that if you're doing a good job, you're making 8 to 10% profit in the restaurant industry.
Okay.
That's it.
That's a great job.
That is a great
So
job.
if you do
That's
like a killer, like my lunch the other day in your restaurant was $44. Like that was nothing. It was nothing, Ben. And so you're telling me that if your staff killed it, and you guys absolutely killed it on my wonderful experience there, the restaurant profited $3.50 or $4.
10 cents on the dollar.
Honestly,
on a high end.
$4.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, once you you have to, people don't see that. They just see the food. You have to factor in everything. You have to factor that somebody dropped something
Yeah. Breakage.
earlier the day.
Like if somebody drops a platter, that's $18, right?
or breaks a glass
Yeah.
or
whatever.
anything like that.
smashes a bottle of wine. You know, all that stuff happens. You know, it's not just a singular experience that this person having, and they're like, there's no way this guy made $1. You know, he must have made $40-50 off of me. You know, everybody's crying, but you got to calculate everything. Yeah, you know, that $600 that HVAC technician that went up there to do it. You know, the hood cleaning companies that come and charge $1,500, garbage disposal. I can go on. I can have my own podcast complaining about all this.
Yeah, you're kind of doing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
But I just say, like, it's just like, you know, people have to just, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to sound like restaurant guys are complaining. You know,
No.
We are doing what we like. The main thing for me is the customer comes in happy, the customer leaves happy. Let the rest of the stuff that I have to deal with, I deal with. If I didn't want to do it, then I wouldn't do it. So that's the key. Be happy, leave happy.
Yeah.
You know, like, don't be grumpy and then like, you know, give me shit and like ruin my day. I could easily have a bad day. I just go upstairs and just open my Epcor bill. Just want a bad day.
If you're looking for a bad day, you
Yeah,
just
I'm looking for a bad
check
day.
your
Just
utility.
I'll fill up my car.
Well, hey,
you know?
I mean, like we talk about, and I promise no politics here, so we'll try to respect that. The audience needs a break. I need a break. But like, you know, you talk about, you know, we'll hear from people all the time. We had the premier sitting in your chair, Miles, yesterday. The prime minister before her. Everybody wants us to ask about borrowing rates. Everybody wants us to talk about inflation. Everybody wants us to talk about utility costs, insurance, which is way up. Like, I can't imagine running. I mean, not you running gas. I don't know if what sort of wood do you burn, by the way?
Birch.
Barbacoa,
Yeah.
birch. That might have been a dumb. I thought
Wood-
maybe
wood would
hickory,
arguably probably be
wood,
more expensive
right?
than
Like
gas.
wood's probably more expensive.
Yeah.
But like if you're running gas all day long in a restaurant,
All day.
is that now 3 times more expensive than it was 2 years ago?
I don't even look because there's nothing I can do about it when it comes to my day-to-day mental health. I just like whatever. Let me tell you a funny story. So the walks are water cooled. You know, they're water cooled because it's so hot. It has to cool the whole deck of the water cool. I bought this special thing to help me save water. This special thing tells me that there's a massive leak in my restaurant every day. It tells me so often that I had to shut the thing off. It was a waste of money. I was like, well, no shit. I know I have a massive leak. The whole restaurant's leaking. And that's just the reality of like my cuisine, but that's just the reality of running a business that other people, like, you're giving us an opportunity to talk about it. Other people don't know. Other people just see the dish and the waiter brings it in front of you, they eat it, they go, right? So
Well, that's what we want this to be. That's why I want this to be like and I know that this, I mean, you're delivering the podcast will be interesting for people to get a look behind the scenes, to get a real idea of the reality of running restaurants. But I don't, this is celebratory. I mean, like this issue of Edify is a celebration of the people that are the best in the business and the top of their class. The thing that I worry about is, like, you know, our family lives in a for people outside of Edmonton, like we live in a neighborhood, 124th Street area that's celebrated for its restaurants and celebrated for its walkability. But like we've seen 3 restaurants close in the last year, and it feels like a personal loss every time it happens. And when a new one opens, we get really excited and wish them well and try to show up and order from there and do what we can. But I feel like I'm looking around as a civilian and going, gosh, I hope there's more gluttons for punishment, like the 3 of you, that are willing to do it, because like maybe you just can't see yourself doing anything else. Is that part of it? Like what is the draw that keeps you coming back?
We've done this for all of our lives, right?
So is it a lifestyle more than a career?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And we I think from what I've seen is people who own restaurants and operate restaurants, it is a type of person. And whether you become that type of person by spending more time in the industry, or you were just always naturally that type of person, but we are gluttons for punishment a little bit. We're kind of masochistic in a way.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's fueled by we're ultimately all people pleasers. We're in the making people happy business at the end of the day, and we just happen to try to do it in the way that we see is the best way to achieve that.
Through food and beverage.
Exactly.
We're in the industry of taking care of people.
Yeah.
And that's just the means of how we make them happy.
Yeah.
How we take care of them is through the food and beverage.
Yeah.
Justin's got such an interesting and good point on our chat. He says fast food costs are getting out of control when it costs as much to eat at McDonald's as it does to go sit down at one of the restaurants and edify. There's a problem. Justin's absolutely correct. My lunch at Dorinku the other day cost probably as much as an extra value meal at McDonald's. I'm not even joking. I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not joking when I say you need to make your prices. I'm not kidding.
Trust, I'm advocating for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to say something to our
outside of my realm.
I wanted to say something to our server. Like I just felt like, I mean, that's wonderful that you guys can do it. But I literally found myself sitting there going, I don't know how they're making a profit on this meal. I almost felt kind of guilty. And the meal was fantastic, by the way. And then you probably get people bitching about the cost of steaks.
Absolutely.
Like 100%. Like $60. Are you kidding me? Right? But
we still have a burger on the lunch menu. I mean, we grind all of our own meat in house with our, prime beef from Brad out at North Country Market, and they pay $26 for a burger and a side on the lunch menu, and they're going, what the hell am I doing paying $26 for a burger? And I'm going, go down the street to McDonald's and you're paying $20 for your Big Mac.
Literally.
In a cardboard box.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
come on. Yeah, it's crazy that people come to me all the time. Like, we have a very inexpensive menu compared to other restaurants. What happens is people tell me it's expensive, and I always challenge people. It's like, go make it at home. Go make it home. Go get your beef, slice it into slices. Go get the 50 ingredients I need. Go get 4 pieces of guideline to make yourself one. I had to buy a pallet full to make it it just economy of scale, right? It just doesn't make sense. I just think it's so crazy. I challenge people all the time, but I like having conversations with them on the phone.
I want to just follow you, and actually somebody did this a while ago. As a matter of fact, when I worked at City TV way back in the day, we were all so proud to be the home of the Quon dynasty, which was a reality show featuring you and your family, and it was just we were just so proud to be associated with such a project and such a fun project that took people behind the scenes at the Lingnan at this iconic Edmonton restaurant, and obviously people are getting a sense of your personality and where you get it from with your family as well as we're talking here today. But I would love to follow you around in the business with a camera and just capture you taking complaints from people. I think.
What? It wouldn't be me. It would be probably my dad, because I don't know what happens, but when he gets off the phone, I don't know who's more confused. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they're paying us. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, it's pretty funny to follow him around. But yeah, we were very lucky to do a show before our time. That's probably 13, 14 years ago.
It was right when I was getting started in TV. What did that show do to the business?
You know what? It was busy. We've been always doing it, so it was busy for a year, and then it just people kind of petered out because it wasn't that time where there's social media and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and I'm terrible at that stuff. So yeah, I kind of petered out, but people still remember us, the show. We're still having conversations about it 14 years later. So
Of course.
people come up to us and say, hey, were you on the show? And I begrudgingly said, yeah, because it's like so
Did you see
long
that
ago.
green shirt?
Oh my God.
You're
that was
just a
like-
baby-faced little boy in that
I
show.
was like, man, I don't know, man. I got a new haircut, so I'm good now. But yeah, it's just been very lucky that we were chosen, and very lucky that we get to showcase our restaurant, Edmonton, and our cuisine. So yeah.
So Miles admits that he sucks at Instagram. How important is Instagram or TikTok or social media to what you're doing? Like it's amazing for me to hear Instagrammable is an adjective now, and people talk about like designers, entrepreneurs, people in business development will always talk about how a restaurant or a bar or a shopping center, for that matter, needs Instagrammable spaces, right? That's like a thing now. How much does that factor into you? You're the creative director. How much does that factor into what you do?
See, I have a very strong opinion on that. I'm not a fan of making something for the fact of making it more Instagrammable, if you will. I focus on quality, and I focus on trying to make the best quality product that we can, and then make it look beautiful and presentable after the fact. But the baseline for me, the starting point is always, how do I make something taste the best it can? It feels disingenuous, in my opinion, to do it the opposite way. Like, how can I make something look cool and Instagrammable again, and then just like kind of focus on how to, what it tastes after the fact.
Okay, I got to say, though, I'm looking at your Dorinku Instagram account. It's pretty baller. Looks pretty good. They're doing a pretty good job. Are you just telling me you have nothing to do with this?
Oh, no, not at all.
They do a beautiful job on there.
Yeah, but again, it's the order of operations. We just kind of focus on what the product is first.
Yeah.
And then we kind of go into it. But on the other hand, I think that social media in this day and age is incredibly important for the industry. Like some of my best friends do it as a job, and it's a skill in and of itself to know what to post, how to post, when to post, what kind of people are looking for. Because a lot of people also don't realize that like there are certain times of the day and certain days of the week that you're going to get more engagement, and whatever that engagement actually translates to, whether it be an actual tangible dollar figure, that's kind of the hard thing. Yeah, like again, one of my best friends, Justin Benson, shout out to him. He does this, and he has a lot of trouble explaining to, people that it's a value add, but it's very difficult to quantify.
Yeah, I got to also, by the way, say that your pal, Justin Benson, has one of the best Instagram handles of all time, Old Dirty Benson. Yeah. Little shout out to Old Dirty Bastard. And
he's a staple.
He is. And if you look at, I'm showing his Instagram right now, like you look at people that just like get it, and the way that he integrates his projects into, like, he creates value without basically yelling at people. It's not like his Instagram's not a billboard. It's a good place to study effective messaging and storytelling.
He's very good at what he does. His very Instagram, while a part of him, he's just a big softy. He's just a big goof.
Yeah, a big tatted up goof.
Yeah,
there you go. Give him my love next time you say hi to him. How about for you, Ty? How much, like, when it comes to marketing, is grassroots marketing, is word of mouth, referrals, return business the go-to? I mean, how do you approach marketing and storytelling? How do you make sure the public understands what's different about your restaurant?
That's 95% of it. We're not huge on the social media aspect. We rely very heavily on word of mouth. It's part of the concept. It's part of the brand. We talk about the comfortability of being in the room. We are a place for people to connect. We don't obviously have TVs in the room. It's a very bold move in a restaurant these days. But we want people to come in and spend their minutes with us and with each other. And I think that goes a long way of the lines of that word of mouth and the self-marketing aspect, right?
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, I'm super excited for what's coming up on the 8th of April. I'm going to be there, and I know a whole bunch of people are going to be there as well. If people go check out edifyedmonton.com, number one, you can read through about all of these restaurants and so many more. I mean, I love even the categories, restaurants with the best vibes. What a great category. And Staley, your spot's in there. Congratulations on that. All part of Edify's Best Restaurants of 2024. If you click right at the top of the banner, you'll find the link to their Best Restaurants event. I'd love for you to join us there. It goes Monday, the 8th of April at the Edmonton Convention Center. This is an annual tradition presented by our friends at Edify, and they do such a good job there. You'll be able to access and check out all of this cuisine that we're talking about. I mean, not all of it, but a lot of it from restaurants featured in the Best Restaurants issue. The admission price includes all of your food and beverage tasting tickets. So what a great date night idea. What a great way to get out the girls, get out the guys, maybe go on a double date, whatever you're going to do. Plus the winning cocktail from the first ever Edmonton Cocktail Week. VIP access goes at 5:45 on Monday the 8th. And again, you can pick up the paper copy, the hard copy of Edify all around the city, and we recommend you do so. We always have one proudly displayed right here in our Real Talk green room. They're doing a wonderful job. Again, edifyedmonton.com. Miles, Quon, I want to thank you for joining us. Ben, Staley, and Tyler Sorochan. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Pleasure.
And congratulations. Keep up the amazing work. I'm overdue for I saw you last week, but I got to get my ass out to Spruce Grove and get into one of those steaks. And I got to get my way back in there. You know. We used to have a regular standing date over there. We need to make that happen again.
We got to go play hockey.
Yeah, we do got to go play hockey. Yeah. You got to be at the next Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic. Now that is a time. I sure will. This conversation has been presented with the support of our friends at Athabasca University. Is what we're talking about right now resonating with you? New careers, new opportunity, getting leveled up and schooled up and understanding where industry is going? Athabasca University is a perfect fit for literally tens of thousands of Canadians because of their world-class accredited online degrees and courses designed so you can complete your education whenever and wherever it works for you. You can learn more about the admissions process, transfer credits, tuition and fees. They've got great resources there, financial assistance programs. Open your options with the online offerings at Athabasca University. You can learn more at athabascau.ca. Our friends at Complete Care Restoration hope you never have to call them. They hope you never have to visit their website. They hope that everything is copacetic and cool on the home front on your business. But if disaster ever does strike, whether it's a wildfire impacting your community, maybe a burst pipe, a sewer backup, maybe you find black mold or realize you've got asbestos in there, you need experts to help restore your property and rebuild your peace of mind. That's what these guys do. For more than 20 years, they've been responding 24/7 in the central and northern Alberta regions. You can learn more at completecarerestoration.ca. And to those of you that are looking for work right now, but you're looking for a career, you want to be part of a team that is doing something significant, like growing clean energy in Canada, Kubi Renewable Energy is literally always hiring. They're going to be getting going this spring with installs, which will be over the next few weeks. And we're talking BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. They're young, they're growing, and they're reshaping the energy portfolio in Canada based out of Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and Kamloops. They're working all the way up in Northwest Territories on homes, farms, office towers, you name it. Kubi's installing solar, and they'd love for you to be a part of that. You can check out the careers link at kubienergy.ca. Don't forget, Kubi proudly presenting Positive Reflections, Silver Linings, the first episode of every week, right here on Real Talk. Are you hungry after all that talk about the best restaurants?
Oh, I'm always hungry, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always hungry, too. I think you and I are overdue for a trip to the Lingnan. It's walking distance from our studio.
Oh, nice.
I think we need to get over there. You know, every single Friday, courtesy of our friends at the Dairy Queens of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park, we're talking Palisades, Namao, Newcastle, Westmount, Baseline Road, a chance for you to blow off a little steam, a chance for you to bring us your hot takes. It's something that we call the flamethrower, and this is a chance, real emails, to talk@ryanjesperson.com for you to grab hold of the attention of this audience. We want to hear your hot takes. We want you to bring the fire, and that's exactly what Kyle has done here, who says, Jespo, I've been holding on to this for a while now, but your recent How Woke Are Canadians episode pushed me over the top. Kyle says, in my humble opinion, liberals and leftists have an abusive relationship with facts and the truth. They live their truth, which never is actual truth. I find the easiest way to tell if a liberal is lying is to see if they're talking. And if they are, they're probably more than likely lying to you. I know that Kyle's just poking the hive. He said it might be the prime minister lying about trying to get more people's homes, yet scraping the first-time home buyer incentive, giving money to governments earmarked for housing, but no structure to enforce that it actually goes toward home building. It could be trying to grow more solar on people's homes with the Greener Homes Grant, yet putting a huge tariff on the importing of solar components and panels. It could be BC Premier David Eby or guests on Real Talk who say that safer supply and supervised consumption sites are the best way to handle the opioid crisis, yet we know that safe supply drugs from BC are being trafficked into Alberta communities and making their way into high schools. Kind of a weird association, Kyle, but I digress. He says, instead of feeding someone's addiction, we need to lift them up and help them recover, even if it's involuntary. He says, we do this for people with mental health issues, except for those with gender dysphoria. For some reason, we promote that. Oh boy. Kyle says the political lies we see that affect so many people, the lives, the half-truths we see have caused people who are not well off in the head to do things like light themselves on fire for Palestine. Too soon. Says it causes people to burn down churches and synagogues because of suspected genocides. There are real-world genocides and atrocities happening right now. Like in Armenia, says Kyle, Canada's economy is in a stagflationary period. This is the year, 2024, the election around the world. So much is happening, but instead we're stuck with liberal lies. He says, I hope Real Talk will continue to cut through the crap on the political and social landscapes we see today. That from Kyle. Thanks, man. This one from Randi with an I out of Victoria says, a former Albertan. I used to live in Calgary, in fact. I'm very excited that Ned Nutchie's running for the NDP. He's not perfect, like all of us, but he was a good mayor, and he'd make a great premier. And everything he said about Daniel Smith on Real Talk seemed true to me. But one of your listeners said that BC's healthcare was worse off than Alberta's. Totally wrong. And changes to better it are going on continually. Unlike Alberta, our family doctors registered in BC up by 700 in the last year alone. That from Randi with an I. How about this one from Grumpy Canadian, who says, Nahed Nenshi on your show, Jespo, brought up the Dynalife fiasco again, and I lose my mind every time I hear it. My entire adult life, 22 years now, I've been heavily reliant on the healthcare system. I was diagnosed with end-stage kidney failure, a transplant in 2004, another transplant just last September. Oof. Says with that, I've had to rely on Dynalife lab services for monthly or even more frequent blood work. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about how this failure to privatize lab services last year, when Dynalife's been a disaster for like 20 years. It's only when Dynalife took over services in Calgary, home of our incompetent conservative leadership, that it finally got some attention and action from the government. That from Grumpy Canadian, who wishes everybody a very happy Friday. And this one from Erin, who's putting out a call to those of you across the country. He says, may I please ask, s'il vous plaît, what's wrong with learning French? I hear people bitching about it all the time, but the first people other than the indigenous people that were living in what we now call Alberta, guess what? Francophone. Our first school, Francophone. My mom was basically beaten for speaking French when growing up. The democratically elected, deciding that English was the way to go and the only way to go. I remember arguing with people about how folks' brains work differently, so learning languages was a problem for Anglophones. She says, but the Quebecois can somehow learn 2 or even 3 or sometimes 4 languages. Not a problem. What is it, says Erin? And I love this, the little dig to really light a fire under all of us. She says, somehow Quebec, I don't know, does Quebec have better water? I don't know, their brains are better fed? I don't know. It's allowing them to learn languages more fluently, more easily than the rest of you across the country. We are a bilingual country. And to my fellow Canadians, says Erin, it's time to learn French. I like that one. You can send us your flamethrower anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com. These are emails from Real Talkers sounding off courtesy of our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. Thanks for being a big part of the shows this week. Make sure you share those episodes that resonated with you. Nahed Nenshi on Tuesday, Danielle Smith yesterday. We're back at it next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson. Executive producer